welcome back to Vintage Super League. I'm joined by the German juggernaut Kai Buda, who just treated us to a masterclass in conceding when there's no chance to win anymore.
I mean, I could have won, I guess. Like, if I draw Tinker and it's about 10 cards he drew on his turn, didn't get him anything. But, like, having to target these Flusterstorms on Magic Online is such a nightmare, and I was in such a terrible spot. I was also not entirely happy how I played that. I mean, I knew that he had a second copy of Flusterstorm in his deck, but my reason to cast the Thirst in response to the Preordain was that I don't really want to use my Pyroblast. If he counters my Thirst for Knowledge, I would have been fine with that. But if he drew Ancestral this turn, and I mean, that was obviously... I don't think he had it in his hand for a very long time.
Sure.
That is the one card I have to Pyroblast if he casts it. And then, sure, if his 5 cards in hand are his 1 Ancestral and his 1 remaining copy of Flusterstorm, I guess we're done. I mean,
Yeah.
like I think the real decisions there were if I keep those hands. I mean, game 1, 5 lands, Force of Will, blue card. Game 2, 5 lands, Pyroblast, Pyroblast. I mean, my plan in this matchup was to play a long game. I have one more Planeswalker, I have a bit more counter magic. I figured he only has 4 Force of Wills to counter my Force of Will in the first game, so I figured I'm probably good against O's. Shui did go easy on me by not going Mox or cut O's Force of Will. He only had a turn 2. But I mean, I just, like, if I'm mulligan, I'm not going to beat turn 2 O's with Force of Will anyway, I don't think so.
Right.
I mean, and then
Yeah. The first one I'm not sure about, but the 5 land 2 Pyroblast, when you're expecting to have to play a blue kind of mirror, it doesn't seem like a hand that I want to mulligan very often. I don't think you can
I mean, it's obviously underpowered, but I mean, like, I think it's just the reactive Planeswalker mirror match. Like, I boarded out all the Painter Servant stuff because I don't really... Like, he has Ancient Grudge and O's, and I mean, I just didn't want to play creatures. That seemed like a really bad thing. I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
So we have a true treat coming up for the viewers at home. We have a Thought Not Seer workshop mirror matchup between Steve Menendian, I think, and it's with Shay. Yeah. So
Yeah, we were just talking about that. So Paul and me are like the good guys in Vintage, right? We always play the interesting to watch blue decks, like a combo deck or like a mono blue back to basics deck. And then as a reward, we get to commentate on the workshop mirror matches every single week. It's just not fair.
And they pair my back to basics deck against the 11 island deck, the only guy who found more islands in Vintage.
I mean, you did get to buy against me in week 1, so I mean that kind of evens itself out, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure if the viewers, if this is just a problem localized to me, or if the viewers at home are seeing this. I'm seeing the screen's a little dark, the picture right now, so not sure if that's something that could just be localized to my computer. But so we talked about this matchup a few times in the past. The key here really. Die roll and just how the draws, the opening draws, right? Those are the two keys to the match.
This is just a 100% mirror, right? If I see it right. Like, I think they're just actually playing the same deck. 20 creatures, 22 artifacts, 18 lands, Wasteland, Eldrazi Temples, 3 copies of Hangerback Walker, 4 copies of Swordknot Seer. Like, this is just actually card for card the same deck, I think. Maybe a little bit different sideboards. Steven has 2 Dismembers and an Umezawa's Jitte, along with 2 Wormcoil engines, and Rich has none of these cards. Alright. I like Steven in this matchup. Like, Rich sideboard is 4 Grafdigger's Cage, 2 Thomas Crypt, 3 Leyline of Sanctity, 2 Relic of Progenitors, and 3 Crucibles. So he really wanted to beat Dredge and some combo decks. And Steven has a whole mirror match package in the sideboard. Although, as we saw last week, the Crucibles of Worlds can just win games. Although it's not as good in this matchup because both decks are powered, so they can actually get out. And Steven has 2 Crucible of Worlds too. So Steven actually can sideboard. Like, Steven can probably replace all his bad cards for this matchup. And I think Rich is just going to be stuck with a whole lot of terrible cards in his deck.
Right. And we said this before a few times, but both of these decks are exceptionally poor at coming back. So each of them has opening hands on the play that are just completely unbeatable, that can't possibly be interacted with. You know, where they end up with threats and thorn effects in play on the first turn.
Yeah, sound effects don't do that much, and I mean, there's always Mishra's Workshop. I don't think in this mirror match they can get out of this. Like, even if someone goes like turn 1 Sphere of Resistance and Sword Nuts here, if the other guy has like a similar hand, he can get out. Especially Steven after sideboard, because he has such powerful cards for the mirror match. Like, if you like a Wormcoil engine just gets you back into games. I mean, even if you're completely dead, if you play a Wormcoil engine, you're suddenly winning.
Prediction: who's gonna win?
I mean, I'm giving Steven like 65%, maybe 70%. I mean,
Wow, the sideboard you think makes that big of a difference?
I mean, game 1 is obviously a total coin flip, but like Steven has actually good cards after sideboard, like really good cards that break the matchup. And Rich only has 3 Crucibles, where Steven also has 2. So, and then like Rich has to keep so many bad cards in his deck. But I guess 70% is probably too much, especially as the first game is just a flip. But I like Steven. I mean, it's definitely not a coin flip overall.
We're gonna find out shortly. We are gonna go down to the match for match number 4 of Vintage Super League Week 6. Here we are for the promised match number 4. Rich Shay against Steve Menendian. Both players look like they have keepable hands, Kai.
Yeah, I mean, I like Steven's hand a little bit more, I think. He doesn't have the workshop, but he's got the wasteland to deal with Rich's workshop. Ancient Tombs are a pretty big drawback in this matchup, I think, because creatures are going to attack. If Rich goes first, he has turn 1 workshop into Sphere. But then again, we have the old Sword Not Seer workshop interaction. I mean, it's just not great.
And it looks like Steven is on the play here, so he's gonna, yeah. Do you want to get the Ravager down first, or do you get Hangerback Walker out so you can start taking it up and have it in play?
I think you probably go turn 1 Ancient Tomb Hangerback, I think. And then turn 2, like if you draw another, like if you draw an Eldrazi Temple or another Ancient Tomb, you can go Sword Not Seer and take up Hangerback Walker. Like that, I think that's why you play the Ancient Tomb turn 1. Just to maximize the nut draw. Also, if you draw a workshop, you can play it turn 2 Triskelion.
I think you said not Seer, but you might have meant Arcbound Ravager for this turn.
Oh right, he doesn't even have a Sword Not Seer. That's in the that's in Rich Sand. Yeah, then I'm actually inclined to play the Wasteland and the Mox, I guess.
Fascinating kind of decision points already in the early turns, and
I mean, it's not like you have to play a 1/1 turn 1, but which one do you play? It's not easy.
Right, I like Steven's play here. It allows him to, as you mentioned before, play the Ravager, tick up the Hangerback Walker, and have a Wasteland or Strip Mine for his turn too, which is pretty nice.
He goes Ancient Tomb Sawn. I mean, the Sawn doesn't really do anything. I'm not even sure if it's worth taking 2 damage. Like, the only thing that Sawn does against these decks is to stop the accelerated mana from being cast for 0. But Steven already cast any copy of these cards that he would have in his hand, so it's kind of a liability. Tanglewire, sure. It's good to have him play against that, I guess.
But I don't see any reason to differ from the line that he planned, which is to get the Ravager online, waste his tomb, and start ticking up that Hangerback.
Yeah, I mean, that looks great. Like, Hangerback Walker is a pretty good card in this matchup.
And other than Triskelion, just going wide by sacrificing a fairly large Hangerback Walker is a pretty unbeatable plan.
Triskelion doesn't even do that much if you have a Ravager, right? I mean,
right.
You just have a gigantic Ravager, which is pretty tough to deal with.
We see Steven taking a second here. Is he considering waiting for a non... Okay, he's going to...
No. It's Steven. He's making the correct play, but it just takes a bit longer. But he's definitely doing that right.
I thought maybe he'd pull up a notepad to write down all of the other land options that he could wasteland.
Wasteland the target. Charge my Hangerback Walker. Now the stone affects the sphere. I mean, he doesn't want to cast that anyway, I guess. Yeah. And this is the problem also with the Sawn, right? Like, Rich's best draw now is Lotus, so he can go Workshop Lotus Triskelion, but he can't even do that with the stupid Zon and play, which didn't affect Steven at all so far. Ah, that is a good card. But which one do you name?
So obviously he's going to tick the Hangerback Walker up here. Any thought to just making 2 1/1s or no?
Probably not.
No.
I mean, he has to take Hanger. Oh, he does. Wow. Okay.
Wow, very aggressive line here, signifying between Strip Mine and Tangle Wire. He's going to just try to end this game before Rich is able to really get anything together.
Okay. I don't understand this. I mean,
you know what,
that's
though?
just not great, right? I mean, like, now you have a 2/2 that doesn't have an ability, and 2/1/1/1. Oh, he's just making a big Ravager right now? Okay. Yeah, maybe he just played this as a matchup a bunch and figured that you just can't beat the big Ravager in this matchup.
I'm not going to look a Gift Horse in the mouth. I love the fact that he's just going for it. And one way or another, it's going to make this go a lot quicker. Either Rich is going to come up with an answer to this now 5.
Okay, that's something I probably wouldn't have done. The sacrificing of the Mox, because now he can't cast Tanglewire. I figured his plan was next turn, Strip Mine, cast Tanglewire, tap him out, attack for 4, next turn attack for 5, Strip Mine a land, and just locks the Rich out.
Well, now he can strip him, play the Mox Sapphire, and play the Tanglewire next turn.
If you draw the mana source, right? Yeah. But like the Tanglewire with the Strip Mine in play look pretty powerful. I mean, that Rich just can't get out of it, I don't think. I mean, it's still looking very good for Steven, obviously. But
you were right, 70%, just like you said.
Easy. That's what I'm doing, handicapping games. Yeah, I mean, Steven wins this first game. It's huge advantage. I mean, it's obviously a great advantage in the first place, but I mean, Rich really wanted to win the game where it's a 50-50 matchup, and not like after sideboard. I think it's 7-30 or something in Steven's favor.
I've obviously been very new to the vintage scene, but there is no card that I have seen stranded in players' hands doing nothing more than Triskelion. I can't imagine a card that I've seen cast less for how often it's drawn.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had 2 copies when I played this in the playing tournament. Like, the problem is, it's a fine card against all these Mentor decks, but it's only a card if you draw Workshop and keep it in play. Like, it's not a Magic card if you don't have Workshop in play. And sometimes you even need 2 Workshops to play it, which is, I mean, I don't know. 6 mana is a lot.
Interestingly enough, though, if Rich is able to find another Workshop, Skellion's actually going to look not so bad.
Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure he was supposed to play the Tanglewire. The game would probably just be over, I think. If he just had the Tanglewire in play, he now attacks for 5, Strip Mines him, which again has 3 permanents in play, which he has to tap. Oh, wow. What? He can't cast it because of his own zone. Rough life.
I really enjoy these Workshops decks. I mean, the situations that come up where you're just banging your head on the table because your own cards prevent you from being able to interact at all is just.
Yeah, you need a Ravager to sacrifice your own sphere so you can cast your spells and stuff. And there's another Tanglewire just rubbing it in.
He's dead here, right? Oh no, he has the revoke.
Yeah, he can't sacrifice. So if he draws like a Workshop now, he just wins, right?
Seems like he's in great shape.
His Drazi Temple, yeah. So he can cast Lodestone Golem now.
Tanglewire.
Yeah, sure. Tanglewire. Lodestone Golem would almost be as good, I think, right?
Tanglewire looks great. He's dead next turn, right?
Tanglewire is perfect, yeah. Yeah, I think Steven would have won it if he just cast his Tanglewire. Like, I think he just wins this turn now.
And now he is drawing dead, right? There's nothing.
Yeah, he's drawing it. Like, he can't draw anything. Like, the Workshop doesn't allow him to cast anything in his hand. So. Yeah, I mean, at least with the cards that Rich drew in this sequence, if Steven just played a Tanglewire, he would have won the game.
I like the way Steven played it.
It makes everything fair, because like after sideboard, Steven is advantaged. So I mean, you gotta let Rich win game 1.
And it was also just the more exciting thing to do, like, great, I'll lock somebody out on a Tangle Wire. Great, we've seen that, we know how to do that. But to just build up a 5/5 Ravager and sacrifice all your permanents, that's upping the level of difficulty. That's showing,
Then lose the game while the other guy's on 1 life.
look, you know, ultimately there's going to be one champion of the VSL. Everyone else is going to be somewhere in the middle except for whoever gets relegated.
Oh, I'm usually
And
dead last, but I mean,
the
yeah.
fans are going to remember who it was that put on a show. And, here was Steve Menendian putting on a show for us. And honestly, all
Yeah,
jokes aside,
so now you see Rich board in like Leyline of Sanctity and Tormod's Crypt because he just doesn't have anything else. And he just has cards that don't do anything in his deck.
Tormod's Crypt just against Crucible, is that?
Yes. And
Wow.
against does it do against something against Hangerback? Like can you on the stack use it? You can't, right? You just need like a replacement effect.
It's a die trigger, yeah.
Yeah, you need a
It does
replacement
something
effect to prevent that.
Academy Rector, which I learned the other day online, but not against Walker. And we joked there, but Steven had a very good reason for doing what he did. Obviously, it didn't work out, but he had the sort of hand that was trying to just minimize the draw steps that Rich could have to find pieces of power in more workshops. Unfortunately, Rich found both the second Phyrexian Revoker to increase his clock and shut down the Sapphire, and then the Tangle Wire and the mana to cast it.
Wait, but the Tangle Wire line would have just done that, right?
Yeah. So the basically the major inflection point was it looks like perhaps Steven may have over-sacrificed by one artifact so that he couldn't cast his Wire. Right.
Yeah. No, I mean that was certainly fine. I mean, like I didn't even think about what happens if he just lets the Revoker resolve and lets Rich shut down the Hangerback, I guess. I mean, then the game just goes completely different either way.
Right.
It's pretty tough to say what happens from there.
So we see Rich kind of doing some last-second adjusting of his deck. He puts in one Chalice of the Void over the third Sphere of Resistance.
Yeah, like Rich has to play some bad cards, but these bad cards are different when you're on the play or the draw. Like Chalice is actually a very fine card if you're on the play because you can shut down your opponent's Black Lotus and whatever. But now he has Chalice in his deck on the draw, which is extremely terrible, I think. So now, Steven with the old workshops. Come on, I mean but that's a pretty good hand. It's turn 1 Revoker and Sword Knot Seer, and then some workshops in hand for good measure, I guess.
Seems pretty good.
But he doesn't even use the workshops, right? Like, to cast Sword Knot Seer and Revoker turn 1, he doesn't cast his workshops. But he can check with the Sword Knot Seer first what he wants to shut down with the Revoker, which is pretty nice, I mean.
So it's probably going to be Soul Ring?
Yeah, I mean, the Mana Crypt doesn't look that great. Yeah, both of them have so much mana, I mean. Like that's what really makes Sword Knot Seer good in this deck, I think, having Soul Ring and Mana Crypt. If you draw one of them, you don't have a problem casting them. If you draw neither, it's sometimes pretty tough. But now this Sword Knot Seer... Check the Sword Knot Seer, right?
Okay. I just thought maybe there's some thought of taking Relic of Progenitus because you know that Rich's Thought Knot Seer is going to brick.
Yeah, but...
No, too greedy.
Yeah, I think it's too greedy. I mean, if Rich doesn't draw a creature very soon, he just dies. I mean, if he draws Triskelion, you can play turn 1. That's kind of nice. I mean, you just shut down the Relic with the Revoker, right? Then he can't cantrip.
Sure. Yeah, and just strand him with all mana.
I mean, shutting down Soul Ring or Mana Crypt doesn't really do that much. Rich has 10 mana on turn 2 either way.
And this is what Steven's working through right now. He's the Thought Knot Seer trigger, is resolving, but he's kind of working through, the Revoker that he's going to finish his turn with, and then also, of course, probably writing down Rich's hand so he kind of knows what's going to happen. Although Rich is going to play most of his hand on his next turn.
Like the real problem for Rich is that more than half his deck doesn't do anything. Like he probably has about 28 to 30 mana sources in his deck, including the Wastelands, which don't do anything right now. Steven has all the mana, and then he's got some spheres left, and like Chalice of the Void, and Grafdigger's Cage, or like, he doesn't have much action in this spot.
We see Steven, we came up with a few kind of normal plays, Relic Progenitus. He actually brought up Rich's deck list for a moment there to consider blind naming something with Phyrexian Revoker. Let's see what he ends up going with.
There's nothing, I don't think.
Nothing better than a Cycler. That's about as good as it gets.
Yep. Well, I mean, sometimes it's good to shut down the mana, but like,
right.
in this case, it's a little bit futile. Did we name anything? I think we're still in the naming process, I guess, right?
Process. Obviously, with the Magic Online interface, you want to be very careful that you name the correct card.
I mean, I guess you can make a point for Triskelion in here, but I just wouldn't want him to draw a card of the Relic. Just seems so likely that he's flooding out from here.
Right. And what's the reasoning for playing the Ancient Tomb over Workshop on turn 1? Oh, you can't.
Saltness, yeah.
Right. I looked at all the mana, with the Lotus and the Sapphire and the Workshop, like, well, he's got all this colorless. Nope, none of that does it.
That's the problem with the stupid white Eldrazi deck. You just don't have that much colorless as you would want to.
Mm-hmm. I probably would have played the Workshop and then just be banging my head on the table as I can't cast my things.
Well, you still can cast his Alternate here. So. Oh no, wait, you can't. No, you had to play the land. Yeah, you just revoke a go and then Rich cast Alternate here, and you were very sad. What's going on?
Possible, I know Steven was having a little trouble getting into Magic Online earlier, so he could be having some connectivity or interface issues, or it's possible that he just really is thinking through this play. Although I would bet the former at this point.
Yeah, this doesn't seem all that complicated. Yeah, like when I started Magic Online today to just goldfish a bit, the first program launched, put in my password, immediately crashed. Bam, client closed again. All right. Always the same. There we go.
All right, so he has the selection window open. He's going to try not to pick Archangel.
Abandon Hope probably a bit early right now.
See, the thing is, you don't name Archangel, and then later on they just put a Psionic Gift on Archangel, and you regret it. It's happened to me a bunch of times before.
What Archangel is that we're talking about?
Archangel is, I believe, white 5 for a 5/5 flying vigilance.
And you put Psionic Gift on that?
Well, you want to put it on a vigilance creature in general. I mean, or something that can untap itself.
Sure.
All right, so
I like it on Horseshoe Crab personally.
That's what I meant. Horseshoe Crab. Excuse me.
Horseshoe Crab. I have lost against that for sure. So yeah, we did name Arcbound Ravager, which that doesn't seem great to me. I think you would rather name Triskelion than Arcbound Ravager. Like, I think both are a 4/4. I guess. Yeah, both are a 4/4. I think I'm more scared of Triskelion.
We're going to see Rich dump his hand out here. Probably Revoker this Mock Sapphire and... get rid of that Lotus.
Yeah. Bam, it's gone.
Steven now prevented from firing off the Bomberman combo.
And Workshop Saltnatia strikes again. Just whenever I watch this deck play out, it's just always like, alright, can't cast this, can't cast that. Something just never can be cast. But that other Saltnatia might be good enough.
Kind of a smart play, I think, by Rich to not crack his Relic, wait till Steven's end step so that whatever card he draws from the Relic doesn't get caught under what may have been a Thought-Knot Seer. Obviously, we now know that couldn't have been the case.
That was brick number 1, and that's another brick.
At this point, from a clock perspective, you probably won't... Oh, never mind.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I'm probably blocking now, but
yeah,
because then you give yourself 4 turns to draw something if it doesn't come up with anything.
Exactly.
But we get more Thought-Knot Seers. So he's dead next turn now?
No, he'll have to chump block a Thought-Knot Seer as it stands.
Yeah, it's not a great spot to be in.
No.
It's not. Like this is a good turn to draw. Oh no,
Yeah.
it's Steven with the Wormcoil Engine. No Reality Smasher in the deck. But yeah, 5/5 Archangel would be awesome right now.
Archangel.
5/5 Vigilance. I mean, we're done.
An Archangel with Psionic Gift out right now.
Or another workshop. That also means we're done very soon. Like
So
now,
he could cast Colossus of Sardia, but he doesn't. You don't believe he has it.
I think we're just actually done here now, right? Like,
Yeah, there's
Rich
no.
doesn't. Rich has no cards in his deck.
Right.
Do anything.
How much is Draco? Draco's 15?
Yeah, I think we're not quite there yet.
6, 8, 9.
It might be 18 even, right? Is it 15, 18?
No, because with the erratic explosion.
It was 15 damage only?
I believe it's only 15. Yeah, 6, 8, 10, 12. He only has 13 mana, so. It could be 13 mana, too.
Emerald Pool.
You had one?
Now the mana crypt gets sought, not see it.
Rich really leaning on those connection issues here as his winning path toward this game.
Maybe if he told him often enough about the game that Steven lost last week to Randy, he could just like randomly destroy his computer or something. That could be an out.
You need like Seething Song into like a series of flame slashes on all of those Thought Not Seers.
I kind of like board in Trinisphere now if I'm rich on the play. I mean, it's obviously not great, but I think it's better than a Tormod script.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can just have like a high mana hand and Steven draws a lot of Moxes and just can't cast this stuff.
What about one Mindbreak Trap? Only good in the opening hand, but could stop him.
Yeah. I mean, you can have a Black Lotus and just counter something. I mean, these Tormod scripts are just so bad. I mean, I guess he knew that he was going to play Steven, and I don't know what his other two opponents were, but Steven is pretty unlikely to play that deck. And these hands are both disgustingly bad.
Yeah, really bad hands for both players.
Both actually unplayable. I mean, you would mulligan both, right?
I would even find a mulligan here, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm saying, if you mulligan this stuff, then I mean, you just have to be deep in mulligan.
I am a deep and passionate connoisseur of unplayable hands, and even I would find a strength to send back.
Have you ever considered to play like a team limited event with Martin Juza on the team?
No.
That would be some interesting discussions. Like one guy just mulligans everything, the other guy mulligans nothing.
I won't let my teammates look at my opening hands when we play.
Okay, so I mean, Rich actually has a hand. It's not great, but that's a hand. It's a turn 2 Lodestone Golem, which is a 5/3. At least it doesn't have to attack. Steven went to 5 and still has a pretty bad hand.
Although I don't know that you can go to 4 on the draw with mana and a scry here.
No, you have to keep that, but these Tanglewires are looking pretty terrible. Especially if Rich draws one of his Tormod scripts, then he gets like another permanent to tap for the Tanglewire. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm a very big fan of Rich. Question is, do you play a Revoker turn 1? I think you don't, right? I mean, your opponent mulligan to 5. Right. Shutting down some mana is so big. Is that? Like, he's got a Revoker in the Wasteland against the mulligan to 5. I mean, that's shutting down both of Steven's mana sources, and he's left with some Tanglewires.
Is the policy of the league that if Rich were to play a Revoker on 1 and just name Mox Jet, that he would immediately be ejected from the league, or would we give him? Would we have to listen to what he has to say?
I mean, we've had similar scenarios before where we did not murder that guy, but yeah, I think that would probably be appropriate.
So Steven, considering his options here with this 5-card hand, thinking, I have 2 Tanglewires, it's a very bad hand. So, what sort of 4-card hands am I? He's going to go 4. I'm
I
fine.
actually like it. I'm thinking about it because he probably knew that Rich had to board in shitty cards like Relic of Progenitus and Tormod Script, and these Tanglewise just look so bad against the deck with like random permanents.
Yeah.
I mean, this hand, at least now he can draw something, right? I mean, if he draws the big card, it's in good shape.
Um, so definitely an advanced, highly technical mulligan from Steven down to 4 cards there. Not sure we do it with the scribe, but certainly something that's outside of my own capabilities. Finds more mana. Uh,
Strip Mine and Wasteland are fine. Like Rich Mulligan too. I mean, obviously he's going to play Lodestone Golem now, so that's kind of bad. But
Although, Steven has given himself a chance with this hand where if Rich floods out and Steven starts to find action, that's pretty much the furthest from flooding out that Rich could have done there. But
yeah, I mean, if like he can Strip Mine one more land on Rich's side, and if he draws the Wormcoil Engine, he just wins, right? Like he just casts the
yep,
Wormcoil Engine and we're done. I mean,
yep. Well, it certainly will take some time to fight through a worm coil engine.
and a lot of Rich's cards. Yeah, just hopes that that's enough. I mean, obviously, Rich has a lot of 2 mana spells. That's pretty unlucky for Steven, but yeah, like Steven just has to draw one of his big spells, and we actually have a game. He doesn't have that much time for that. It's good that he doesn't play his artifact mana because of exactly these revokers.
Yeah. And again, just the exact kind of advanced maneuvers and technical play that we're used to seeing from him. He clearly understands the way his deck is supposed to operate.
Yeah, and I mean, this is just like knowing what the worst case scenario is, which is like, now are we ghosting?
Well, I guess he's going to name Lotus, yeah.
Not ghosting.
Oh my
Ooh,
god!
there we go.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's a magic card.
Any thought to slow rolling the worm coil here?
Just go to your second main phase now.
Yeah. I don't know if Steven's going to end up finishing this third game off, or if Rich is going to find his way back out of this. But the mulligan to 4, the very disciplined, very aggressive, but obviously as both you and he agreed, very correct mulligan to 4 has given him a chance here. Ravager happens to be one of the better cards against Wormcoil Engine because it prevents Steven from attacking and triggering lifelink because you can block with a small creature and sacrifice it. But now we're in a situation where the game might develop a little more.
I mean, maybe he just loses 5 straight mana crypt flips like last week.
He is.
That would be.
He went on a Frolician crypt run last
Ooh.
week.
0-1 and more mana.
So if you attack here, it's going to block with the Revoker, sack it to Ravager. That's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You do risk dying.
I don't think. Is he gonna block? I'm not sure if I'm blocking if I'm Rich.
How do you not block? You have to block.
Well, you're attacking back for more, right? Like if he has the second Vamcall, you're just done anyway, right? So. I guess you have to block. I mean, the Revoker doesn't do that much. Obviously, Back Lotus is not a magic card right now.
Assuming he blocks, which I would block, but I guess we would find out. This game could very well come down to a mana crypt flip next turn. Which you got to think Rich is 60-40 there, right?
I mean, I don't think Steven is attacking either way. I can't imagine he will attack.
Well, if he doesn't attack, isn't this a situation?
If there's multiple lines, he usually takes the more conservative line, which is actually strange because in the last game he clearly didn't. But usually he's more on the conservative side.
Well, the way the game develops right now, he's dead in no more, or excuse me, he's dead on an average of what is it, 1.5, 8 turns from here, right? But it seems like if both players draw at parity, still advantage to Rich because of the way he's able to interact with Arcbound Ravager. You know, handle.
I mean, here Steven has both Ravager and Revoker in his deck, right? So that's both great draws.
Good point.
Like, Ravager gets rid of the stupid mana crypt, Revoker shuts down the other Ravager. I mean, I think you probably have to risk drawing into one of these. Just attacking doesn't do anything. I mean,
of course, you are playing against an opponent also who did miss a land drop last turn and has 2 cards in their hand, so it's pretty likely they've got additional action coming for you.
Yeah, but it's not likely that they can cast that action right now.
Right.
Also, you know that he has bad cards in his deck, right? Like, Steven knows that there has to be like Sphere or like these cards have to be still in Rich's deck. He just can't sideboard them out.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think just attacking doesn't get you anywhere. Yeah. Just has to hope to draw his Revokers or Ravagers. And maybe win a mana crypt flip here and there.
We see Rich get 3 seconds of Steven's time with Relic. I like that.
That was one of the better draws, I guess. What do you shut down here?
Well, if you shut down Mana Crypt, no,
doesn't do anything.
Cast whatever, yeah.
You can shut down Umezawa's Jitte, but
or Ravager.
That doesn't do that much. No, you can't shut down Ravager.
Oh, right, you have your own Ravager.
Very bad. I think probably Jitte, actually. Mana Crypt, I mean, that doesn't do anything, I don't think. He's got Eldrazi Temple to pay for Assault Nuts here.
But here's the problem, right? Rich is happy just saying go here.
Oh, yeah, obviously. I mean, and next turn he just attacks, right? Next turn he just attacks and sacrifices whatever gets blocked.
Sure.
No, well, Steven probably has to, like, first, he won this draw and he drew a Jitte, but that's kind of bad. Doesn't do anything.
This is the saddest 6/6 Death Touch lifelink with a triggered ability, a triggered death ability. 2 of the most broken limited rares I've ever made.
Yeah. Jitte has to be on top of that. Such a stupid magic card.
Although, you know, Rich is still not in a situation where he can attack with everything because he needs something to block.
Yeah. He needs to wait for one more lost mana crypt. But then Steve's dead, right? No, wait, he's dead. Surely.
No, it's 9. If Steven just blocks Lodestone.
Oh yeah, he blocks the Lodestone and it's 9. Yeah. Never
10.
mind.
Excuse me, 10. No, 9. I gotta remove.
No, it's 9, yeah.
So he could go for it and try to hit him with a mana crypt. But then if it doesn't work out, he just absolutely gets crushed.
Both the Revokers die, gains life. No, I mean, surely you just wait for the loss. I mean, he just has to hope that Steven doesn't draw a Ravager, I guess.
Right. Steven can't attack here in case you're following at home, because Rich can block with one of his Revokers, sacrifice it to the Ravager, the Wormcoil Engine's lifelink, and Umezawa's Jitte trigger. Neither of those will happen because the blocker won't be there, and then Rich will have the ability to sacrifice the rest of his useless artifacts to Ravager and attack back for 12. So Steven is just going to wait it out a little bit here with this Wormcoil Engine and hope to find another creature at some point.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's dying slowly to his own mana crypt, so... Yeah, that Ravager was a very good draw. Tanglewire, that's a very bad draw.
That's not that bad.
I mean, you tapping a mana crypt that doesn't do anything, and Umezawa's Jitte, a Mox Jet that doesn't do anything, and I guess a Workshop, and your opponent still has like about 85 mana, including colorless mana.
Here, if I'm Rich, I'm going to be attacking with my Ravager, my Lodestone Golem, and a Revoker.
Really? But then he blocks Ravager, right?
Then he's dead.
So then he's dead. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually a very good play. Yeah. I mean, then if he draws Dismember, that doesn't really do anything. Like he can't afford to cast it.
The reason why I would do that is Wormcoil Engine would have to block Lodestone Golem. You would sacrifice the Lodestone Golem, the Sphere, the Soul Ring, and the Tanglewire to the Arcbound Ravager. That would come in for 6, put Steven down to 6. Then you have the Mana Crypt flip. You can still block with your Revoker and sacrifice, and you have 2 lethal threats to attack with the next turn.
Yeah.
Rich, it's understandable why Rich is taking the line he is that, still the pressure is on Steven to find something. Mana Crypt is going to continue to kind of plink away at his life. And if he doesn't find anything on this turn, he's going to be able to threaten lethal on Rich's next turn as well. Does Steven have Dismember or any sort of
He does have Dismember, but it doesn't
so,
really do that much. Like even if he took your route, you still have to tap the Mox Jet, and then he can't pay 4 life with it. I mean, I guess if he wins the Mana Crypt flip, he can.
Right.
I don't like that. Why do you... No, that can't be right. You have to tap the Workshop over the Eldrazi Temple. Now you can't cast Thought Knots here if you draw it. And the Academy taps for what, like 5? Yeah, I mean, bam.
That's not fair. You can't do that to the top of his library.
Yeah. I mean, what would he want to do? Like, he can cast anything with the Workshop, right? Or Triskelion, maybe not. Oh, yeah. He was hoping for Triskelion. Yeah,
well, it's leave Mana Crypt untapped, right?
Mana Crypt is blocked by Phyrexian Revoker.
Oh, I see.
So, yeah, I think that was probably right, because, like, Triskelion was one of his few cards that actually gets him out of this mess.
Sure.
And he can't cast it if he leaves the Eldrazi Temple. Yeah, I mean, Thought Knots here, sure, it's a card, but it's not good enough.
Right.
Yeah, I like what he did, actually.
And it turns out he still would have been dead this turn as the
Yeah, I mean, now we're done, right?
Yeah,
now we cast Hangerback for 2. Yeah, Hangerback for 2 has to be enough. Oh, you can even cast it for 3 if you just sacrifice the Sphere first. Yeah.
And I think that makes it's immaterial.
I mean, there is Dismember, right? Like if you do that plan, you are seriously fucking yourself.
Why?
Against it.
What does Dismember do? Does nothing.
Oh yeah, it actually doesn't do anything, right?
Yeah. He has enough artifacts here that it's not gonna
I mean he blocks the Ravager, and then you can Dismember whatever the Ravager's counter go to, but that doesn't even matter that much. You still die. Because you go to 5 from the Dismember, and then the Lodestone Golem and the Revoker kill you. Like, if he had a Dismember...
Yeah.
If he had a Dismember, he would block the Ravager, then Ravager sacrifices some stuff and puts the counters on a Revoker, and then you Dismember that Revoker, but you still die from the other 2 creatures. So, yeah, that's just lethal. Man, actually, 2 games after sideboard.
Yeah, Kai, I gotta say, these games were a little more interesting than we anticipated for a Thought Not Workshop Mirror. There were some interesting creatures on that, and some interesting mulligan decisions. Surprisingly interactive and compelling, I thought.
I'm not sure Steven agrees with you, but yeah, I would have to agree. The games are actually pretty good.
So Rich Shay is going to take this match 2-1 over Steve Menendian in the Workshop Mirror, which is a big win. Obviously, we're in the middle point of the season. People starting to try to avoid relegation and/or move into playoff position, and this is a big one for Rich to start looking closer to the playoffs and away from that relegation zone.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rich at this point won't have to do anything with relegation. Like he's on 4-2 now, I think, and I think Steven is at 1-5.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, like if Steven wins out, he gets to 4 wins. So if Steven wins out and Rich goes 0-3, then we're talking about relegation again. But it seems very unlikely for that to happen. So I think Rich is actually only looking at the playoffs now.
Right.
People looking at the relegation are David, Randy, me, and and Steven right now, I think. And then whoever loses your next match against Louis Scott Vargas, whoever loses that kind of looks at relegation, I guess.
Yep. And if Naya is listening, go ahead and just knock over a drink onto Luis's computer now, and we will be good to go. We're by the way, who do you think is going to win, me or Luis? My null rods and back to basics, because
What is Louis playing again? He's just a
an
Delver
Esper
deck.
and core with the time vaults.
Probably like your deck, actually.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it works out better for me than the last person you predicted would win. We are going to take a short break so I can get into that match, and we'll be back in a few minutes with more Vintage Super League. Don't go anywhere.